in memory and in life. I praise Dr. Martin Luther King, not berate him, for though he has become, in our modern life, perhaps America's only indigenous saint, it is useful to remember how utterly bedeviled he was in his final years of life, hounded as he was by the forces of the state. It is worthy for us to recall that the highest levels of government taped Dr. King's phone calls, monitored the privacy of his hotel rooms, steamed open his mail, and assigned anonymous informants to his every move. What we have forgotten in this era is how the second highest official in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, one William Sullivan, wrote in a now notorious memo that King was the most dangerous Negro in America. How was he so? At Riverside's historic pulpit, Dr. King spake the words that, in FBI parlance, made him a marked man. Here he called his nation, the USA, the greatest purveyor of violence on earth, and he condemned militarism, racism, and materialism. King felt common cause with the peasants of Vietnam, who were being bombed by the most powerful military in the world. To King, there was something not just unchristian, but unseemly, when the wealthiest nation on earth unleashed an unprecedented level of violence on an industrially underdeveloped agricultural society such as Vietnam. To King, follower of a poor Jewish carpenter, the worship of wealth amidst immense poverty in America deeply troubled him. This is why the Reverend was marked by the state as dangerous, a socialist, and a radical. This is why his fair-weather friends deserted him and denounced him in his greatest hour of need. Martin Luther King was an adversary of the military-industrial complex and the mammoth business interests that support it. This is why, like the crucified Jesus, state power marked him, quashed his voice, and gave him up to a violent death. But King did not oppose war, materialism, or racism purely out of ideological concerns. As a man and a child of God, he felt these things cheapened man's relationship with man and degraded the divine principle of life itself. He saw the dynamic of men fighting, bombing, and killing other men, women, and children as the ultimate sacrilege. King felt the pain of Vietnam because he truly believed in a beloved community, one without borders. For these principled impulses and for his words, he breathed his last, 1 year to the day of his Riverside address. As we gather to remember Martin Luther King, we must ponder what this towering figure would say about the behemoth of modern-day mass incarceration, of stop and frisk, of the death penalty, of the bewildering violence of drones, and of the continuing hunger for wars abroad in our name. We know that the true Martin Luther King does not dwell in statues, in ghetto streets bearing his name, or in schools where children are violated daily, in buildings erected in his name. His true spirit dwells with the least of these, in communities of the poor worldwide, in ghettos north and south, and yes, even in prisons. In the revolutionary spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we remember him as he was, not as he has since become. From Imprisoned Nation, this is Mumia Abu Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Noel Hanrahan of Prison Radio.